Jordan just brought it up that we didn't really get to this yesterday. It should be simple enough. The user versus system scope, the idea of delivering on those channels is fine. It's just we need some way to identify if a profile should be delivered to the user versus system scope. And I know initially also in the Scratchpad, it had you could toggle it and some API changes, but I think to align it with the configuration profile and to make it the same there, we add a top level key saying scope, right? And you specify user or system, and that's it. Let
Oh
the
yeah.
IT admin
We
configure
talked about
rather
this in
than
the
we.
afternoon yesterday,
Okay,
Magnus, our time, and we arrived at the same, Mel and
okay,
I arrived
cool.
at the same thing. Yeah.
Got it.
And that way
Okay,
it's
well then,
consistent with the V1 mobile configs. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you also don't introduce an API key that is only for declarations, but not all the other profiles.
Yeah. Makes sense. Do you remember
Perfect.
that,
So
Mel, where we were like,
yeah, just
yeah,
we were saying that we want that just to be declared in the whatever JSON file that they upload. Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
Just making sure.
nice.
Okay. Was there anything else on
No, not
that?
for me. Not for me.
Okay.
cool.
Okay, we can go through these really quick. So I looked at where we want to add assets and we kind of talked, Noah and I talked about adding it in here in a submenu where it kind of lives in the submenu. So I'll have profiles for the regular profiles and then another tab for assets.
It feels good
Yeah.
looking at it. Yeah.
Okay. And then here, if you're adding or editing, because I'm also working on a ticket for edit profile, these will essentially look the same with kind of this option to edit whatever profile you upload because you can't do that today. And then this is just an error message because this came up yesterday too. If the asset isn't, if there's an asset referenced in the profile, but it's not already uploaded, then throw this error message to let them know that it doesn't exist.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. Okay, in this case, I'm trying to remember, and you probably know the best, Magnus. It won't really be a name, right? Because in the declaration,
oh,
it's
okay.
referenced by that identifier. So this doesn't really matter, but I guess technically this will be asset parentheses like identifier, right? Because at that point, that's what that's how we'll identify the
Yeah, and that's
asset.
also what they will use. And I just thought we might be able to do this okay without having to know about every declaration type, because I think pretty certain that all of them end with asset reference. It feels fragile a bit to say, oh, let's look for anything that has asset reference at the end and then check that string value. But if we do want to provide upload time, I think that's going to be the way to go. But it
I see
should
what
be
you're saying.
doable because they're like distinct enough keys.
I see. But yeah, do you have one handy, Mel? And just an example declaration that references an asset. I'm trying to find one too. Maybe you do too, Magnus. Let's see, Apple Developer. I'm looking at my Chrome history from yesterday.
See, this one says
This
identity
one.
asset reference.
So if you scroll down just to
Okay.
look at the JSON, oh,
I think we might need to go one level up then to see the full JSON,
Okay.
yes,
but they don't
yes,
use
Okay.
it, so that's
perfect. Oh, but this example doesn't have it.
It doesn't use it.
okay.
Okay.
Where would it
So
go in
that's
here? Oh, got a different one. Okay, cool.
Mm,
here, like authentication, identity asset reference.
Oh, it's way in there. Wow. Dang. Okay, so it's nested. It can be at different levels. I found another one here just to compare the two. This one is called data asset reference. So there's also different names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why we want to make it so if they add a new asset type, we can do that or support that without changing the product, right? Only check for asset reference, and we don't care about the first type. We don't care
Oh,
about the type of asset reference. We just want to know, is there an asset reference? What's the identifier? Do we know about the identifier? Exactly.
this part you're
Like,
saying.
yeah, skim the entire payload for that kind of thing would be the way to go.
That makes sense. But yeah, it could be at this level. On the other one, we saw it in a couple levels.
Yeah.
We
What?
can we can do it, but we can also maybe just improve the error message when it delivers to the device and an asset is not found to be more descriptive.
Handle it.
We can do either way.
That'd be nice too. Yeah. Yeah. But if we do feel that it's brittle, it's not a bad cut to make. But I think it would be nice at upload time, like what you've got, Mel. But it's good to
Okay.
know that we've got the Apple, like the protocol as a fallback. Essentially, I think, let me know if you already understand this, Mel. But what Magnus is saying is we could just let it through, and then on the OS settings page, come apply time, the admin would see an error with a similar error message on a specific host. But this is nicer, so if it's not too tough, I think it makes sense. It makes sense to do.
Okay. If it works, then that's cool, but otherwise we could move it somewhere else if that makes more sense later once development starts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good cut.
Do you also think it works out like we couldn't definitely do the JSON kind of scanning?
What's that? Sorry, I was.
No worries. The approach in scanning the JSON for the substring of asset reference to look up the identifier on upload time. So we don't have to parse all the payloads because we don't know the structure.
We could probably do something like that, or even I think there's there's a way that you can use the Go JSON parser and more of a push-pull model where you look for certain types of keys and stuff. So it'd be slightly smarter than just a string match, but yeah, I think we could figure out something like that. What we do
Okay.
today for variables, and
Yeah, true.
yeah.
At one point, I like the idea of the profiles and the assets being there, but does that then fall back to the assets being team defined, or are they still global? Because profiles is a really heavy team or fleet specific concept.
See what you're saying would fall under the team because it would.
And I would just, if we don't have a description clear enough saying that this is a global thing, if you switch teams and you see the exact same list, you're like, wait,
Yeah,
there's a bug. Yeah.
that's a good point. We might.
Yeah, all our other global stuff is over there in settings.
Yeah, but it just fits nicer here. I do agree that
Yeah.
this
Of course.
place is.
Would we, if we made it fleet specific, would we prevent any? It would be the same. It would work the same as profiles. If you're a UI only user, you would have to duplicate it. But if you're GitOps, obviously you can just reference the same file across different fleets. Yeah.
Do any IT admins care about it being fleet locked?
No, I think it's, I mean, this is
One
like,
fleet should not be able to access the assets from a different fleet. That kind of thing.
yeah, I mean,
Especially in our multi-channel customers.
yeah, makes sense to go fleet level. I agree. Otherwise, if that comes up, we'll have to figure out how to hide and show and add fleet level later. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and as
Yeah.
yesterday, it's not a problem doing fleet level. It's just thinking we could do globals,
Yeah.
but fleet locked is also completely fine for this setup. Doesn't really
I think
change that much.
I think that makes sense. What do you think, Mel?
Yeah, that
Cool.
sounds good.
Okay.
And convenient that I don't have to change anything. Just kidding. Okay, so if you go into assets, this is like the empty state. If there aren't any uploaded, oh my gosh, get here.
Oh, one quick thing that this help text up here is really specific, right?
Oh yeah.
It's DDM and it's just Apple. I think we want to keep the generic cross-platform kind of copy up here. And if we should revise it, or I guess we don't need to keep it, but I think we want it to be cross-platform. Around in other spots in the UI, this doesn't change according to what you have picked here because it's above, but that's just a small thing. The easiest thing to do is bring back, if it looks good, just bring back the existing copy.
Oh, you mean the same for configuration profiles?
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Like just keep it consistent.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
we don't, in other spots, don't flip the copy above the tabs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
In the empty state, this is an
mhm.
opportunity to do some education for a couple things. Like one, this is Apple only, right? If you're trying to add Android configuration, this isn't relevant. So calling out Apple only, I think we want to try. And then also somewhere throwing in the DDM acronym, I think will make people excited too, because it's
Okay.
also just like the DDM protocol supports it.
Okay.
I'll just write that down real quick in the doc.
Thank you.
Empty asset state explicit Apple only. And what was the other thing? Oh, and mention DDM. And then it's also worth thinking through the Apple MDM. I don't know a better way to say this, like the not being turned on state. I think I can't remember the way the logic works today, right? Because profiles are cross-platform. So I can't remember if I'm pretty sure we have some state where it's if you don't have MDM nor Windows nor Android turned on, there's like this turn on MDM
Yeah.
button that takes you to the settings page. And then, yeah, I guess we just want to figure out that logic. And because this only applies to Apple, what does that mean? Do we have it
Okay.
on Apple here if we haven't turned on Apple? It's just worth taking a look at what we currently have and then seeing how it applies.
Okay. Cool.
And then this will be free too, right? Profiles are free. Trying to think through our buyer-based model where it's like the paid features are the ones that the directors and above care about, whereas the free features are individual contributors. I think this one fits under the same kind of, if profiles are free, assets are free. It's just a piece of profiles. So it makes sense. Free and paid. Sorry.
Okay.
Keep going.
No, that was good. Okay, so if you add the asset, I just mocked these up, so I'd probably ask Mike T for some help making actual icons for this, but
Oh, those are pretty good. Yeah, I would just take a screenshot and just ask him what he thinks, but I like them. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't really know if this was like the full list or if I guess I'm not really sure which file types we want to include on this list.
Yeah, what we're going for, Magnus, is just an exhaustive, list of assets.
As far as I could tell from the quick look, the only thing supported for the one where you're forced to upload the asset data that we want to host is a zip file.
Okay.
And for managed apps DDM, it's a plist info.
Pila.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I assume the JSON would be if you bring your own asset, as we talked about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's the JSON, which is you're self-hosting the asset and you're just giving us the asset JSON. And then these other options are you're giving us the asset and we are creating under the hood the asset.
Yeah, the JSON asset. Yeah. I'm also like, we can, of course, put some limitations, but it's also, do we want that, right? Let's say they push a new profile that suddenly, oh, now you can upload, I don't know, images.
Yeah.
Then you have to wait for a product cycle. But I'm also thinking about the free storage kind of term. But again, if you can upload a zip, you can upload anything.
It's okay.
You can just zip it.
I think 3 weeks or whatever, 6 weeks turnaround time is fast enough. I hear what you're saying for the new stuff, but as long as we're exhaustive, comb through the developer docs at first, I think it's actually better. It offers some guidance to have some guardrails, right? To your point. If we just let you upload anything and then you're trying to use an image and then declaration, it's like, a little bit confusing. But you were saying the other type that you know of, is it dot plist?
Yeah, it would be a plist for the app managed app config, something you're setting. Properly list file, yeah, plist file.
And then
I don't know
there's
what you
nothing
do
that's
with it though,
a
but
text file.
I couldn't find that txt file used anywhere. I could
Okay.
only find zip and plist.
I thought I saw one yesterday in one of
Okay.
the examples, but yeah, we can get rid of it.
It could
Yeah.
be maybe if you saw that there was a text file in that directory, but that would be under the zip one for that one, which is the service configuration files. We could double check this list, of course, when we get there. Maybe just a note
Makes
saying,
sense.
hey, just make sure this is
Yeah.
actually true.
Yeah. Actually. Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll update that one and also send a screenshot to my T and see what he thinks.
Sounds good.
Okay. So once you have your asset on here, it's similar to profiles, has the name and the icon. As far as actions, I have delete, download, and then view. I wasn't really sure about view if we want to have that like and a zip file. I'm not really sure how we would
Yeah.
do that.
I think we can probably cut view for now. We don't do it for profiles
Okay.
today. It would be nice it'd be good to track a follow-up story, I think, Mel, to think through the scenarios. But today, I guess the best practice is download and then open it in a text editor.
For the
Yeah.
zip one specifically, what are we downloading? Are you downloading the actual zip file, or are you downloading the fleet created asset JSON file? And
What would that
with
even
that,
look like for a zip file?
what do you mean?
It would just be the JSON that just has a URL in it,
Yeah, but I don't.
like a fleet URL in it. That's what the
It
asset would
would,
look
it
like.
would, and then it would be proc. Yeah. A second note here is also, I can see, of course, they have a name, zip asset, but we want to specify, we want to make sure we can specify an identifier when you upload a zip file. Just as a call out.
There's a couple things here. It's like the download right now is double check what I uploaded is what I meant to upload. So that's an argument for giving them the raw zip. But then there's another thing here, which is I need to know, right, what identifier to use in the profile. So at probably here, oops, sorry, I'm trying to draw, but I'm typing, adding the identifier, because you're going to, and maybe with the copy button, this is what's going to need to go into the declaration to reference it.
Yeah.
But do you care? If you're uploading a zip, I think I want to know, download and put it side to side with what I tried to upload. I don't really care about
I think the content makes sense.
Yeah, I don't care about the under the hood asset in that case. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh, and then I was thinking about if you try to delete an asset that's being referenced in a configuration profile, kind of like how we do with labels, like not allowing that to be deleted until it's like basically unlinked from that profile.
That's interesting.
Which
that's a good catch.
Maybe would be easier because we are going to add this functionality to edit the profile. So maybe it would be easier if they just upload the new profile so they don't have to delete the whole thing like we currently have to do.
Edit or delete the profile.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. What do we know what would happen if all of a sudden the server lost the asset? Probably see some errors.
If you lose the asset, you wouldn't push it to the device, and then the device would be forced to recheck the assets and then say, oh, because the device keeps a link between the profile and the asset used. And it would say, I don't have the asset, so I'm no longer going to put this declaration state onto the device and then put a failure.
Got it. So ultimately you would see like MDM protocol, DDM protocol error.
Yeah, now I'm
for that
actually
specific
unsure.
code.
You would see the failure, but I'm actually not 100% sure right now if it keeps enforcing it until you remove the declaration or what it ends up doing.
Yeah, if it's like a fail once kind of thing.
Nothing good would happen.
It
So maybe
makes
with
sense.
I think
Yeah,
I think the
it
blocker.
makes sense to prevent it. I agree. I was just
Okay.
curious if anyone knew the
Yeah.
behavior. But yeah, that makes sense. And then
Okay.
I think we can get rid of the "Are you sure?" I've been doing that with other
Oh,
the other
okay.
product groups too. It just the modal in itself is an "Are you sure?" So it's just more
Yeah.
copy.
One thing I did want to bring up before we get to the end of this is, so the ticket right now, as it stands, says support all declaration types. And we focused on assets, but there are activation declarations, which we haven't really focused on. And there are management declarations, which it's not even clear what the use case is for those in some cases, but some seem to be like you can control how the device talks back to the MDM server, is what it looks like from what Apple says. I'm wondering if it would, I don't know. I guess I'm wondering if we think that it makes sense, because the way the activation ones work, you basically have to reference your config declarations and say you turn on these declarations when these conditions are met.
Yeah,
And so today, Fleet just gives one activation declaration that's, I think, essentially just says turn on all these config declarations all the time. Like all the ones that Fleet says, the activations thing is almost like another level on top of our
for
existing
sure.
levels and stuff.
I think, yeah, let me write that down real quick. Let's definitely come back to it, but I guess let's go all the way through the assets use
Yeah.
case real quick and then come back. That's a really good point, Jordan. Let me just write it down. But yeah, let's get all the way through, I
That,
think, this ass.
yeah, that was it.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
end.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So there's the activations and then there's the management. The activations, my understanding of them are like it's for essentially for scoping or having
yeah.
these dependencies. If the device looks like this, apply the declaration, or wait until the device looks like this to apply the declaration, which
Yeah.
conflicts with our mental model of labels, which are OS query based.
The,
But
the real gain would be on iOS and iPad OS because those you don't
oh,
have the OS query stat level, where those activation scripting would have way more information you can target across.
oh, that's a really good
Uh,
point.
so,
What do
so
they
that's where
look like again? Does anyone have a
it
quick link to an
it's like a
example?
custom Apple kind of scripting language you put in there.
Let's see. Let's see. Trying
Yeah.
to
So
find.
here's one. So you can see it says device.model.family equals Apple TV, and it says apply these configurations.
So wait.
It's if you choose predicate up
Oh,
at up
okay.
above. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to the, I'm just trying to get it. So there's this predicate, and then the one configuration is that's the simple example with no predicate. If you go back to the other tab, this is just
Yeah.
minus the predicate.
This is more or less what Fleet does today to tell the device, turn on all the declarations that I've given you, because you have to have an activation.
And Fleet stuffs
for it.
all the configurations into.
Yeah.
It's one per declaration technically, but the
Oh,
idea
okay.
is the same as
Yeah.
all in one.
But yeah, that token is something Fleet generates and then says turn this on.
Okay. I'm rolling my eyes because I'm like, I feel like this is another weird Apple. I guess it makes sense at the end of the day to make it ultra flexible. But my initial reaction is like, why this probably isn't supported, right? To wrap your configurations in instead of this being a reference, this is actually just your configuration. That's not a thing. Because that
No.
would be okay, that would be easier to hold, I feel, as an IT admin. Interesting.
It feels like it's built more for a model like that the more ClickOps solutions would give
Yeah.
you, where they're like you configure your profile or whatever in the UI and you say activate if it's on this device.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely worth thinking about this. My gut reaction is we could treat it the same way as we do assets, a separate tab, but the timing gets a little bit weird, right? Where it's the configuration has to exist before you add the activation, right? Because you're referencing the configuration by identifier. And right now, Fleet will just do stuff once you upload the declaration. It'll apply it to the device.
Yep.
So that is interesting. We could, but this is messing with the protocol. Allow the user to upload this, what I'm imagining, which is the actual configuration. JSON lives in here, and we would do some kind of magic, but that's messy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're thinking through for sure.
Now we've created the custom fleet DDM format.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, got to drop for MDM stand up. But yeah, it's worth thinking about this. And yeah, I'm not even sure what the user use cases look like when you've got, like Magnus said, maybe iOS and stuff like that.
That's a
But
good
like,
one. Yeah.
how many in what sort of use cases our users are looking at? So
Yeah, I think the answer will be like, we won't get a good one. People will just want to experiment. But we can try to come up with some and think through it that way. Do you mind helping us out with that, Mel? I guess the first place I would look is what actually can I do with this predicate programming? Can I go to the level of this iPhone or this declaration only gets applied to iPhones on iOS 18 and above?
you can
Yep.
probably
Like that.
you can definitely do that. Apple did say that they don't want you doing things that impinge on users' privacy. So you can't do things like geo fencing or anything like that, and they won't do things like that. So
Okay. Yeah, we're thinking through.
Mm.
Another thought that comes to mind for the timing problem is we could let you upload one of these pre-configuration, just let it through, see if Apple complains about that, or if it's just silent. You know what I mean, Magnus?
Yeah, if you can
Yeah,
put one through without any
yeah,
standard configuration attached.
yes, exactly. And then once the configuration is there, things happen as expected.
Yeah, but from a UI perspective, those could be like a modal saying, I have a new activation and I click on the declarations I want this to apply to, right? Because you have that list and then Fleet
Yeah.
could tie those together.
We just have to then think, we have to do the work to delay applying the declaration. There has to be an option where it's like, hey, don't go and deploy this declaration until I pick the activations.
Yeah,
Until
but
I
it
pick the
won't, if
scope.
even if you push it onto the device, if let's say you label scope the declaration and we supported activation as the primary and only source of pushing it through, you could put the declaration onto the device and the device won't do anything until it has the activation.
Oh,
So if you end up in a setup where we don't automatically send these every time we push a declaration, which we do today, you could have this, yeah, you can push these through, but until it hits an activation that references the declaration, it won't ever execute it.
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, that kind of solves that timing problem then. Makes sense. And right now we just slap on this default configuration. Sorry, activation
Yeah,
for
the
everything.
one configuration symbol there, no predicate.
And this could be, yeah, this could be like an advanced option. I'm thinking about it for the declaration upload where it's wait for an activation, essentially.
It could even be
Yeah.
that you maybe provided per profile. You have an advanced field and say, this is now a
Yeah.
text box where you can put in Apple's predicate programming. And then now that we ship the standard one configuration per declaration, we just fill the predicate instead. And then it's like a tack on to the current DDM model rather than a separate type you need to.
Give us the predicate instead. Okay, I see what you're saying. If you go just to the,
If you had a text box on this one, this model here, right?
yeah, here's the dot. Oh, sorry, this is the same thing we were just looking at.
Yeah.
But you're saying the text box could be essentially just the value of the predicate. If you go to
Yeah.
that predicate tab, Mel, and then it would just be that at status thing.
This?
No,
Oh,
this one,
Yeah.
yeah. You would write this in, and then Fleet, once it delivers the profile like it does today, it just builds this in. So, and then it comes down to, is it enough to have one per declaration, or do people want to do
Right.
more declarations under the same
I
predicate?
do like that because it's okay. You upload a DDM profile, only then do we give you this advanced option. to add because it's not supported for other kinds of profiles, maybe something under here. And I like it from a GitOps perspective too, because then you've got, it matches this model of the old mobile config to label, where it's like you reference the mobile config and then you apply the labels underneath in the YAML. Here it would be like a reference to a declaration and then another key, which is like predicate in the YAML. So
Yeah,
it
just
feels
an idea.
good because we don't need any of the other stuff in, or the IT admin doesn't really need to care about. All they want to do is say this predicate applies to these declarations. So all that other stuff in the JSON we were looking at doesn't matter to them. Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. I'm cool with that. They never have to reference like you do for assets, like reference the activations identifier.
No, the activation references the declaration identifier,
Right.
but
Okay.
if it's linked closely or you pick it, then Fleet behind the scenes knows the identifier.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that feels pretty good. What do you think, Mal? Try that
Yeah.
advanced option. And then the other thing that Jordan brought up, I know you guys have to jump, is the management.
To be honest, I haven't really
Management.
figured out what it is. Like
Yeah, like what are these used for? I'll just write it down.
one thing you
Okay.
can push is the management organization information, which is an email name and a URL and a string. And I think someplace, somewhere, maybe if you run into issues or Apple's help menu, you get redirected there, or it pre-fills your organization information.
Okay.
But I don't really know actually. But maybe that if that's the case, then it's maybe something we already can automatically push
Here's
per
the thing.
device because
Here's
we
like an
have that like
example.
help IT link. Exactly. This
Name,
one here.
email, URL.
Please
So
support.
this, oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying somewhere in the native Apple kind of UI, these
Yeah,
values
this would
populate
appear. Yeah, I
for
think
like
that's the case.
migration and stuff like that. Like what are the spots? Do we know?
No idea.
Okay.
That is the
Um,
same right now.
management properties, groups, stuff like that. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's just worth doing a little bit of research, I think, to see what those are used for and if there's any use cases.
There's the server capabilities is one that we don't, I think, ever want to allow people to push themselves because it's like, what can the MDM server do? And
Okay.
there's this client and server capabilities, and that should be one Fleet is always in control of. So that should always be blocked no matter what. But I don't see people, there's no reason to use it, right?
And then there's this properties, which looks like you can put whatever you want in it.
Yes. So I, again, no idea the properties on the device. Okay. But it seems like maybe you can pull these out or you can use them as maybe for the predicate stuff. You can be like, oh,
Mm.
push a group, like an IDP group to a device, and then I want to scope a configuration to all that has this group. I think that's maybe where the loop comes in,
Oh, I see, I see.
but
Okay,
it's
so
not really documented well.
yeah, that would make sense because if you are an MDM solution that doesn't have, yes, this built in natively like we do, where we have these IDP labels, that would be what,
And
this is what you
label
would use.
scoping idea.
Yeah.
If you're just allowed to upload these, then there's no way of scoping. Then this would maybe be the path you would take to
Okay.
manually construct what we have already.
It makes sense. We could probably come up with some use cases, but I guess, yeah, what we're talking about is under this properties. It seems like you just lay down, I'm just making up an example here, but you would deploy these, yeah, what would you, what kind of properties? Because the IDP group use case is already covered. Interesting. Yeah, I can't think of stuff. We should think through it though. But you put something on the device and then our current thesis is you can use this in the predicate. Does this
Right.
device have group grade 1? Then apply this activation. But I guess the question in my head is what are the use cases with which I would want to lay something down and do the scoping that way? Essentially, what do labels not cover that this would
Because
cover?
they use it looks like to be like a school example. One idea I had with if you had a way to control this app manage settings, let's say you had a custom school app and it was grade bound. And I say I can lock down the app to grade 1, grade 2, right? Which are like outside of MDM account scoping. It's totally a school domain. So you could be, oh, it has grade 1, so only unlock grade 1 of the app through this managed app DDM. Once you hit grade 2, then you automatically unlock.
Into grade 2. But yeah, but then the MDM has to push out an update to the managed property. So at some point you have to define which device should get which property.
If you had that activation saying or activation saying, are you in grade 1? Push this DDM. Grade 2, this DDM, and then we just have to update this management file properties here to push it onto the device.
That's the part that and we haven't spent a ton of time that I don't get quite yet is like, how as the IT admin do I make sure the right device gets the right properties? You have to make sure the device gets the right properties and then add that activation.
We'll have to drop those, sorry. But yeah, I don't actually know the use case.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a big use case for it right now in Fleet.
Okay.
Thanks, Magnus.
But there's, I know you have to jump too. I'm just thinking through, we want to open up the protocol. No, even if we can't think of a valid use case, I bet if we spent like 30 more minutes thinking about it, we could. I think we might as well let you, if it's not extra work, let you upload this type as well. Underneath probably the profiles. I don't see why it needs a new tab. It's just another thing that you're deploying to the device.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm confused. This is just like a regular payload. So couldn't you just upload it?
Yeah, I think we would just let it through there. Apple is describing it as something different because I'm guessing it behaves differently than a declaration in that if we're right about it, you can use these or you are meant to use these in activations. But I think that's why they're bucketing it under management instead of under configuration. But I'm not 100% sure about that. But I think that's best for us, just let you upload it. And the only reason we carved out a separate spot for assets is because there are different file types, the zip and stuff like that. If assets were always JSON, we would probably also just let you upload it in the same. And you're never going to apply a label to an asset because an asset's always used by a declaration. So that's worth thinking about too. In this case, maybe it's powerful to apply labels to this because then you can use the OS query labels to automatically distribute the right properties to a different device or to different devices and then use that as an activation. So I think that spot makes sense. Yeah. But cool. I know you got to jump.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Mel. Good stuff.
All right.
See you. Bye.
Bye.